Shabbat Shalom, L'chaim L'chaim. This week's Torah portion is Pinchas. The portion really kind of began last week. At the end of the Torah portion last week, after Bilam failed to curse the Jewish people, he told Balak that he should get the Midianite woman to go and seduce the Jewish men and get them to commit these terrible acts. And the Midianite woman did this. They got the Jewish men to do terrible deeds, including idolatry as the worst one. And a terrible plague broke out into the camp. And what Pinchas did was he zealously acted for Hashem's sake. He remembered the halacha that he was allowed to do, to avenge Hashem, basically. And when he saw this tribal prince, the prince of one of the tribes, the tribe of Shimon, Shimon, he went and he basically impaled this leader and the woman he was with, and he avenged Hashem's sake. He zealously acted for Hashem, and Hashem granted him a covenant of peace, as it's called it, and the kahuna. Pinchas became a Kohen from this act. The remainder of this week's Torah portion talks about, the very end, it has the idea of korbanot. It has the appointment of Yeshua as the next leader of the Jewish people, and it also has the dividing of the land, the inheritance, which is the story of Slavchad and his daughters, who Slavchad had no sons, and his daughters came and said, we want to inherit our father's land. And what I find interesting was that I was recently sent a story. It was basically a coach, I believe, of Michael Jordan, who said this very sad story about his daughter who never wanted him to leave, and he was always leaving, to go on these different trips and everything. And he had to for work. And so when she asked him, why do you leave so much and travel so much? He said, it's because I have to, this is how I provide food and everything that you need. And she said, if I eat less, will you travel less? And he said it broke him, but he made him realize that if he's going to do anything, if he wants to win and succeed, then he has to make these sacrifices. And when I understood this story, it was quite hard for me to understand, but I do resonate with it back in the day, because when I was a runner, nothing else in the world mattered. All that mattered was running. My day and my nights were all centered about running. I was, swimming so that I could run faster. And I had nothing else in the world that I cared about except for winning and being the best runner that I could be. And this is kind of what he was talking about. And when I look at the Torah portion of Pinchas, I see a similar thing. When Pinchas grabbed that spear, no one else remembered the halacha, not even Moshe Rabbeinu. They're all sitting, and it says they were crying. And Pinchas got up, took the spear, and he went and he did what needed to be done for Hashem's sake. Why? Because for Pinchas, winning is being as close to Hashem as possible. It's doing Hashem's will and putting Hashem at the top of the hierarchy. And when you put Hashem at the top of the hierarchy, and living a life devoted to Hashem is considered winning, well, a life devoted to Hashem makes life worth living for you. Hashem says, okay, you want to live your life for me? Then go get a job and provide for your family. You want to live your life for me? Go home and be with your family. Make your wife happy. Teach your kids proper midos, good character traits. This would make me happy. And so Hashem tells you, you must go and live a good, healthy, balanced life according to these ideals. And that's a life you're living for me. That's a life living for Hashem. But many people in the world have these false gods, which is something we see here. These Midianite women brought idolatry into the camp. What are the false gods we see today? It's people saying, all I care about is myself. Whether it's my career, whether it's my sport or my art or whatever my craft is, that becomes their god. And they say, I need to be the best at that. I need to win at that. My whole life revolves around that. And when your whole life revolves around these things that have no inherent deep meaning, like a meaningful life lived for God, then it becomes an end in itself, and it will end at some point, because you cannot do them. They're not infinite like God is. When you live your life for God, you live an infinite life. And I see this theme, again, message in the idea of Slavchad and his daughters, because when the Jews are dividing up the portions of the land, it says it's divided up by the size of their tribe. And I think of it as you can live a balanced life, because on a scale, you can have 5 eggs on one side and 1 stick of butter. They're completely different. You got 5 on one and 1 on the other, but it's balanced. So in my life, yes, sometimes I have to work more and sometimes I have to work less. Sometimes I'm with my family more and sometimes I'm with them less. But it doesn't mean it's not a balanced life. As long as I make sure that I'm doing Hashem's will, that I put Hashem at the top of the hierarchy, then He will make sure I live the perfectly balanced life. That I give time to my family, that I teach them the proper midos, that I go and I work properly, that I work with the correct morals in my business. Everything Hashem makes sure I'm living balanced and healthy. So B'ezras Hashem, we should all merit to live a life where Hashem is the top of the hierarchy. And may we merit to win in that sense. Shabbat Shalom.